Hi, it's Penny here, and today we're going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. So I have done this for many years in a row now, so I will probably link a playlist somewhere if you want to go and check out all my previous ones. But basically, this is just a chance to talk about what we've read so far this year. So far this year, I have read 68 books. My goal is 100 books for the year, so I'm definitely on target for that. And I've also been making really good progress on getting through my physical TBR shelf, as well as catching up on all the series like I've been trying to do. So we're making good progress this year. But let's get into the tag questions. So the first one is, what is the best book that you've read this year? And to be honest, it's actually been rereads that have been the actual best books I've read this year. So firstly, I reread Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and I absolutely loved it. I also reread Vita Nostra by Marina and Sergei Diachenko, and again, I just love that reread as well. But I thought I should probably pick a book where it's my first time reading it this year. And really, I'm kind of surprised, but it's actually a graphic novel. So it is The Many Deaths of Lila Starr by Ranvi and Philippe Andrade, I think. So not only is this really beautiful colors, really bright and vibrant, the kind of art that I love graphic novels to have, but it's also one of the best written graphic novel type comic book things that I've ever read. Just the writing was so solid and the story is so meaningful as well. So in this story, a boy has been born who is going to invent immortality, and so that means the god of death is out of a job, but she's trying to basically keep herself in employment, and we go through her many deaths as she tries to stop this guy from inventing immortality. But it's honestly just like a really beautiful story about the value of life and how death fits into all of that. So I really love that. Then the next question is the best sequel that you've read this year. For me, I think there's a couple of options. I could choose Assassin of Reality, which is the sequel to Vita Nostra. I absolutely loved it. It's such a hard book to talk about, especially you can't talk about the sequel without talking about the first book. But we're following this young girl who ends up getting into this special university, this Institute of Special Technologies, where what they're studying is very strange and all the students are kind of undergoing this metamorphosis. And even though I didn't think the sequel was quite as good as the first book, there are still some lines that I am still thinking about, and I imagine I'm going to be thinking about for a long time. Another option would be the second book of the First Lost trilogy. This is the third book, the only one I own, but I have this year read the first and the second books in the trilogy, and I'll be reading this one soon. This is like a grimdark series, basically as a bunch of unlikable, morally grey characters come together as part of this war between empires, but also a war between different magical factions, and I've really been enjoying it, and I really like the second book in the series. I'm really hoping that I will like the third one too when I get to it. Then the next question is a new release that you haven't read yet, and to be honest, I've been keeping up with all the new releases that I want to be keeping up on, so the best I can do is a book that I'm reading right at the moment, which is Magic Claims by Alona Andrews. So this is the second book in the Kate Daniels Wilmington years. So basically the Kate Daniels series is a series I really love where magic has started to come back in waves. So sometimes magic works and sometimes technology works, and we're following primarily Kate Daniels, who is a mercenary in this world, but also has a lot of magical abilities and a bit of a family history that she has to deal with. So the main 10-book series was completed a couple of years ago, maybe longer than I think ago actually. And then just this year, Alona Andrews, which is a husband and wife writing duo, they've been putting out these shorter novellas, which is basically Kate and her love interest and her child trying to just settle down and live a normal life, but it is not going to plan. I am currently reading this one and I'm absolutely loving it. I will probably have finished it before I get this video up, but it's the best answer I've got for this question. Then the next question is a new release for the second half of the year. There are a few that I'm looking forward to, but I would say actually the one that I'm hoping the most for is that we'll get another novella in this series. I haven't seen an announcement, but I assume there will be at least another one. And since the first one came out in February and this one came out in June, like, I think there's a good chance we'll get another one this year. Other releases that I am looking forward to this year is also The Olympian Affair by Jim Butcher. So this is the sequel to The Aeronauts Windlass. So that is a series that I actually didn't think we were ever going to get any more books in. However, it has been announced that in November we're meant to be getting the second one, so hopefully that will be something that actually happens. And to be honest, it's been so long since I read the first book in that series that I don't even know if I can confidently say what it was about, and I will definitely be needing to do a reread before I read that second book. I am also really looking forward to The Fragile Threads of Power by Victoria Schwab, which is the first book in a new spin-off series from the Darker Shades of Magic series. So Darker Shades of Magic series was one of her early popular releases where there are basically different Londons that are all connected, and certain people have the ability to travel between these different Londons. There's Grey London, which is our London that has no magic. There's Red London, which is very vibrant in magic. There's White London, which has kind of been dying off because of magic. And then there's Black London, which is locked away. No one's allowed to go there. So the first trilogy was a lot of fun. I don't really know what's going to happen in the second one, but I am looking forward to finding out. And then as well, one other new release that I am looking forward to in the second half of the year, or hopefully in July actually, is One of Us is Back by Karen M. McManus. So these are teen thrillers. I think in the first one, these kids all go to detention, and at the end of detention one of them is dead, and they know that it must have been one of the kids in the room that's to blame. Then the second book was more focused on kind of their younger siblings. I don't know what the third book's going to be about, but I am excited. Teen thrillers are not something I would normally expect to like, but these ones are something about them. I just find them really enjoyable. Then the next question is your biggest disappointment this year. There's a few options, unfortunately. One would be 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is kind of like a classic, one of the earliest books with magical realism in it, and I was really looking forward to reading it, but in the end I absolutely hated it. It includes old men obsessing over 9-year-old girls and sleeping with them, and just the whole experience was awful, and I don't really see why people like that book. Anyway, big disappointment for me. Another one that has been a big disappointment for me would be the second Brandon Sanderson Secret Project book, so The Frugal Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England. Unfortunately, I guess I could say the Secret Project books have been somewhat disappointing in general for me, just because clearly Brandon Sanderson has wanted to write some more fun, silly books, and that is what I enjoy the least from him. So neither of these books have really been perfect for me, but Tress still had some redeeming elements. I actually have the Frugal Wizards box over there, and the book is in there, and I can't even be bothered getting it out. It's kind of a science fiction where this man from modern times ends up finding himself kind of in a parallel universe, which is sort of like medieval England. But for me, it was just too silly. I was really frustrated about the way that he was recovering his memories, and just the way that he didn't really even feel like a fully developed character. Honestly, just not the kind of book I enjoy, which is especially disappointing since I paid an awful lot of money to own a copy of it. I'm really hoping that the next two Secret Project books are going to be more the kind of book I like, although I'm a little bit worried that they're not going to be. But oh well. Then we have the biggest surprise so far this year. For me, it would actually probably be The Many Deaths of Lila Starr, which I talked about before. But if I was going to pick something different, then maybe I would pick Alone with You in the Ether by Oliver Blake. I did last year read The Atlas Six and The Atlas Paradox by Oliver Blake, and I liked them okay, but I wasn't quite as in love with them as some people are with that series. But I have been watching Oliver Blake's videos on YouTube, and I just really like her as a person, so I decided to pick up Alone with You in the Ether, even though it's more of a romance type book, which wouldn't normally be something I liked. But actually, it wasn't perfect, but I did really like it. The two main characters of the romance are kind of neurodivergent, written from Oliver's own kind of personal experience, and I just found them really relatable, and I enjoyed their journey. And I think what I really liked is some of the concepts that Olive managed to fit into the story, so it wasn't just a romance. Because, of course, there's nothing wrong with reading just romance if that's what you like, but it's not generally what I like. Then the next question is favourite new author. So recently I did a video where I talked about the criteria, or this idea that a favourite author is one where you have rated at least 3 of their books 5 stars, and I went through all the authors that met that criteria for me. I don't think there are any authors that have like newly placed themselves in that position, but there's a couple that are close. Definitely Joe Abercrombie, although that's all for the First Law trilogy. So if I love that 3rd book in the trilogy, then that would kind of make it on the list. But I also feel like if I've only read one series from an author, I don't really know whether they fully fit on the favourite author list, but maybe they do. So Joe Abercrombie is definitely one that's recently become a candidate. Also, the Diachenko, so Marina and Sergei Diachenko, the authors of Vita Nostra and Assassin of Reality. I'm definitely interested in picking up more by them. And maybe Olivia Blake. Maybe. I'm not sure if they're actual favourites yet, but they're all definitely candidates to become favourite authors. Then I'm going to skip the next question because it is a favourite fictional crush and I just don't have any, or have any that I could even pretend to be my favourites. Then we have new favourite character, and again I think I would mention the First Law trilogy. Pretty much every character in here, even though they're all quite unlikable and morally grey, I still have really enjoyed going along on the journey with them, and so I think I like not all of them. There's a few that I am very suspicious of, but Logan, Glokta, even Giselle, and also Pharaoh? Why is she not mentioned in the back of the book? Anyway, the strength of this trilogy is definitely its characters, and I love all of them. Then the next question is a book that made you cry, and the best that I can do for this is actually Karen's Birthday. This graphic novel adaptation of this Babysitter's Club Little Sister book. So these are like designed for very young readers, and this is just a story about Karen. Her parents are divorced and remarried, and she really wants to have a birthday party with both halves or both parts of her family coming together, and during this she goes through some hard times just because not everybody's understanding what it is that she's asking for. So like, I didn't cry during this, but I almost cried. And I don't think that anything else I've read this year brought me as close to tears as this did. So I feel like it's a strange answer, but that's probably what we've got. Then we have a book that made you happy, and I would have to say both the new Kate Daniels books, not just because I'm so happy to be back spending time with Kate Daniels and that I just really love this book series and all the characters that are part of it. But also, like some parts of this are really funny. There is a part in this where Kate Daniels has essentially stolen control of this vampire. So in this world, vampires are navigated by these navigators, kind of like necromancers, and Kate has stolen away one of these vampires, and she has him doing things like the little teapot dance and just like doing ballet moves, and it's kind of ridiculous, and it made me laugh a lot. And there's a lot of parts just where Kate makes jokes that I really enjoy, and it's just a happy time all around. Then the next question is the most beautiful book that you have bought or obtained. To be honest, this year I have been trying to avoid buying books or obtaining books just because we are thinking about moving, and I want to have as little stuff as possible to actually move, because moving is a pain in the butt, especially if you're going to move like 6 hours drive away. For that reason, I don't really have a lot of options. The only books I've really been obtaining this year are the Brandon Sanderson Secret Project books. And like, these are sort of really beautiful books. I mean, objectively, I guess they're beautiful, but personally, they're not quite as beautiful as I would have hoped. And like, I feel like there are other books I own, or even other Brandon Sanderson books that I own, that I love a lot more than I love these. I kind of just feel like these are a lot darker than I thought they might be. And I just don't really know if the outside style is a style that I like. I will say, I do think the art on the inside is really beautiful, but the actual books, like, they're fine. But given that they're probably the most expensive books on my shelves, like, they're definitely not the most beautiful books on my shelves, like they probably should be. But I'm sure that lots of people do think these are beautiful, so I don't know. Anyway, then the last question Well, actually, there is another version of this tag with different last questions or whatever. Anyway, the last question I'm going to have in this tag is, what books do you still need to read this year? So I am still trying to get through my physical TBR shelf. It's just off camera up here. I think I have only about 10 more books, so it should definitely be doable. I am also trying to catch up on all the series that I've been reading, and I think I need to read about 26 books to catch up on all the series that I'm reading, so that again should be pretty doable. And then I think as well there's about 7 new releases that I want to read by the end of the year, but I already talked about the ones that I'm the most excited about. There's a few other ones that I'm excited for as well, but like not as excited. But I think actually at the moment, like my last couple of weeks of reading haven't been super great. So my actual goal for reading for the rest of the year is to try and read some books that I really love. Because even though I've read quite a lot of books so far this year, I haven't loved as many as I would have liked to have. So please let me know down in the comments any books that you have absolutely loved this year, because those are the kind of books that I'm looking for. And of course, if you want to talk about the answers to any of these questions or any of the books that I've mentioned, I would love to talk with you about those down in the comments as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.